What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, I am here to review and talk about The Mist on 4K. This is the latest Lionsgate 4K Steelbook release of The Mist. Now, there is a regular standard slipcover version. I decided to get the Steelbook because I know some people aren't crazy about this artwork, but I actually thought it looked pretty good from the pictures. And having it in person, I may have a couple of gripes about it. We'll get to it when we do the unboxing, but overall, I am happy with this Steelbook. And at the end of the day, I am a Lionsgate Steelbook collector, so I'm trying to get as many of them, if not all of them, that I possibly can. So I do have The Mist on 4K, guys. I'm going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about the movie itself. It's been over 10 years since I've watched this movie. We're going to talk about the transfer. Is it worth upgrading over the Blu-ray? We are going to discuss that here today. We'll also talk about the black and white version because that is included in the set as well. There are 4 discs in this set, which is insane. And yeah, we're going to talk about a variety of things. Guys, I'm still kind of under the weather, but I wanted to keep this channel going, guys. I got a lot of stuff to get to. I got a lot of reviews to do. I didn't want this to slip away. So we're talking about The Mist, but before we get into it, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We talk about physical media on this channel all the time. I'm hoping to review Prey on 4K coming up. We also got Scream 3 on 4K. There's so much coming out. Rosemary's Baby's getting ready to come out. There's so much coming out, guys. It's insane, all the physical media that we are getting lately. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, though, for more great content. I'd like to think it's great content. Some of you all may just think it's okay content, and you would probably be right. All right, let's go ahead and talk about The Mist. So this is directed by Frank Darabont. And if you don't know who Frank Darabont is, he made, I would say, I don't even think this is up for debate. I don't even think you can really argue this. And 2 of the best movies of the 1990s. That easily, both of these movies are probably in my top 10 90s movies. Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. They are masterpieces. I don't even think that's up for debate. I don't even think you can dispute it. 2 of the greatest films of the 90s, beyond the shadow of a doubt, The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption, both based off of Stephen King novellas, which this is as well. So Frank Darabont, whenever he adapts Stephen King material, it's gold. So up until this point, like, he had a great track record with Stephen King material for sure. And I think that this is not a bad movie, and I'm not going to say it's a bad movie, but I think the problem with this movie is it's not up to those standards, right? You see Frank Darabont, you see a Stephen King, a Stephen King material, and you're thinking, oh, this has to be one of the greatest movies ever made, or it's going to be one of the greatest movies ever made. And I remember watching this back in 2007, and I didn't really know I knew this was based on Stephen King material. I didn't really know Frank Darabont. I had watched Shawshank at that point. So I didn't really have any of that kind of baggage going into watching this movie. I just watched this movie, and I was like, that was pretty good. And I just never returned to it. Like, I remember being annoyed by certain aspects of this film, and those aspects still kind of annoy me, which we'll get into here in a second. But yeah, I just came away from this thinking that was a pretty good, creature feature, fun little monster, B-level monster flick. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what this movie is. Does it aspire to be something bigger, something grander? I think so, but it doesn't quite get there for me. I do think that Frank Darabont does a great job directing this film. And this was in the stage of Frank Darabont's career where he wasn't doing these masterpiece dramas anymore. He was doing more of the B-grade monster horror type stuff, because after this, he would go on to launch The Walking Dead. And he didn't work on The Walking Dead throughout its entire run, but I think the first season was like all Frank Darabont. I think he was the showrunner, the writer, everything. And you'll see a few people from The Walking Dead in this movie, but there was a reason that I didn't come back to it. I didn't think it was great when I first watched it. I thought it was just okay. But over the past few years, I feel like I've been hearing from people, oh, The Mist is actually a great movie. It's a phenomenal movie from 2007. So coming back into this, I was interested in how I would feel about it now, all these years later. I think I may have watched it one more time, but I only seen it twice before this, maximum. And then watching it again, I was like, I still just think it's a good movie. And that's really my thought. My thoughts are almost exactly the same as they were back in 2007 when I watched it. I don't think it's a masterpiece. It is a creature feature. It's a B-level monster movie that does try to go for those themes, you know, of humanity and civilization and what happens to humanity when there's a crisis. You know, how fast does civilization break down? How fast do we go to our natural survival instinct, you know, tendencies? I think that stuff is interesting, the stuff that they try to inject into the movie. But they just don't know how to quite pull it off in a believable way, or an emotional way. Like, I never really feel the emotion that I feel like the movie wants me to feel for these characters and for what's happening in the film. And again, it's just not believable. Like, Marcia Gay Harden, who is a phenomenal actress, she's been great in tons of stuff. Miller's Crossing, I think she's phenomenal in that movie. She's been in tons of other stuff. I definitely know her from other things. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. She's a terrific actress, is what I'm trying to say. And I just don't buy into her. It's not her performance. It's just the character of this, like, town kooky woman, who all of a sudden these people are getting behind. I understand what the movie's trying to say. It's, you know, in the time of a crisis, people will latch on to whatever that they need something to believe in. And she was kind of providing that for them. I just don't buy that this town nuts could, you know, get all of these followers in such a short amount of time. Like, it doesn't take its time to build. It doesn't take enough time to build that. So I don't buy into it. So that's kind of my main problem with it. And she's so, like, again, it's not the performance. I like Marcia Gay Harden. She's doing her job, but the character is just so terribly annoying. And I love what happens to her. I was like, as soon as that happened, because I forgot about it, I was like, yeah, that's what they should have done, like, you know, hours ago. Like, why are they just now doing that? And also, we have to talk about the actual monsters. And again, this is a sign of the times. I've talked about this before, but in the 2000s, you know, we thought we were there with CGI, you know, and it looked good. And I remember, like, thinking it looked good back in the day, but it does not age well. That 2000s era CGI, where we thought we had it figured out, that does not age the best. And it looks very cartoonish, and it looks very uncanny and wonky, and it just kind of brings the quality and the feel of the film down. And that is why I will always say that, you know, practical is the best way to go, or at least a nice mix. It needs to be, if you're doing stuff like this and you're creating monsters, it needs to feel real. And I just feel like you need to do like 80% practical, 20% CGI when it comes to these kind of monster creature features. But I do still enjoy the movie. I think it's too long. I think 2 hours is way too long for a movie like this. It should have trimmed down to 1 hour and 45 minutes. And I think the start of this movie is extremely well done. The first 15 minutes, the feeling of dread that builds up to what happens at the grocery store, all that stuff is very well done. So I do enjoy those aspects and parts. But the ending is, I don't like the ending. I really don't. I thought it was shocking when I saw it, but knowing what was going to happen, it just, I was, just wait. Like, just wait just a little bit longer. Yeah, that's The Mist. I would give it like a 3.5 out of a 5. I think it's good. I just don't love it. So let's go ahead and get into the transfer though, guys. This is not a native 4K, this is an upscaled 4K, but there is HDR, there is Dolby Vision, and not only do you get the colored version of the film on 4K, you also get the black and white version on 4K as you get the black and white version on Blu-ray. Now, I do own the 2008 Blu-ray right here, which does include both of those Blu-ray discs as well, and I'll show both of these off. And I can confirm, even though it's different artwork on these discs, these are the exact same discs in this set right here. The discs in this are the same in this, and I could tell by the title screen and, you know, all the special features and just the way that it's laid out when you put it in, you can just tell they're the same disc. So they did not provide upscaled Blu-rays or Blu-rays with 4K scans in this set. So they are the same discs that are present in this Blu-ray that came out back in 2008. So getting into the transfer, it looked good. I thought this looked really good. You know, for what it was. I think what really sold me on it though, because when I was watching, I was like, this looks good. You know, the HDR, the Dolby Vision is really doing a lot, you know, for the groceries and the stores and all the colors inside the store and all that kind of stuff. And the creatures themselves they didn't look good anyway. And it really doesn't matter like what definition you're watching it in. They don't look good regardless, but 4K definitely doesn't do them any favors. But there are some kind of gruesome, gory scenes that do look really good. with that HDR. And the grocery store just as a whole looks really good. I think that the contrast between the mist and the people and the walking in, you can just make everything out very clearly in this 4K. So I think that everything looks good. But what really sold me on it, because I was watching, I was like, this is good, but you know, it's an upscaled 4K. It's not the best 4K I've ever seen. It's not as good as I Know What You Did Last Summer or I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I just watched those. So I didn't think it was the greatest 4K until I watched parts of the Blu-ray disc and I was like, oh my God, this is a substantial upgrade from that Blu-ray that came out back in 2008. And again, 2008. So this came out, the last time that this came out on physical media was back 15 years ago on Blu-ray. So hell of an upgrade here when you compare it to that 2008 Blu-ray, which almost looks DVD level quality. Like that Blu-ray does not look good at all. So when you're comparing it to what you had before and what you're upgrading from, this is a massive upgrade. Like the clarity here compared to that Blu-ray is very substantial. The picture quality is definitely very clear. You can make out every single detail on the clothing, on the faces, like it just, all the up close shots, everything looks great. Very cleaned up when you compare it to that Blu-ray back in 2008. So I have to say that this is a really solid upgrade. But where I think this really shines, and I didn't watch the entirety of the black and white version, but I did watch a good 30-minute chunk of it, just kind of fast forwarding through it. But where this really shines is with that black and white version in 4K, because black and white in 4K just looks so freaking good anyway. And this movie really shines. And there's something about what it makes the monsters look like the monsters in black and white, what they look like in 4K. For some reason, it looked better. Like it still didn't look great. Like you could still tell it was bad CGI, but it looked better to me. The monsters in black and white and 4K looked better in that version. And yeah, it just with the smoke rolling in and the dark, when it's not night outside, when it's daytime, and just the contrast between the two with the mist in the background, those outdoor sequences just shined in 4K with that HDR. But I didn't feel like watching the entire movie over again, so I didn't watch the whole black and white version. But the next time I watch The Mist on 4K, it will be that black and white version because it looked freaking immaculate, just looked fantastic, and I love black and white in 4K anyway. So that's definitely a selling point for this release for sure. Now getting into the sound, you do have an audio upgrade with this release. This does have Dolby Atmos, the 7.1 sound, whereas the Blu-ray only had that 5.1, and I thought it sounded freaking awesome. If there's one huge massive standout to this release, the black and white 4K is great as well, but the audio just sounds incredible. And you have these big moments where the monsters are coming in. You have gigantic monsters that are walking outside. When they're stomping their feet on the ground, they're roaring in the distance. You can just feel all of that through your sound system. And again, I don't have a massive like 7.1 Dolby Atmos setup, but I do have a soundbar that simulates that Dolby Atmos. So all that stuff just sounded great. All the stuff in the grocery store. There's some big like action heavy set piece moments in this movie. So there's a lot of room for that sound upgrade there to kind of shine with this Dolby Atmos. So I thought sound-wise, it sounded fantastic. I thought the Dolby Atmos upgrade was a real shining point to this release. Now, getting into the unboxing here real quick. Like I said, I do like this Steelbook. I like the cover of it. I like the effect of the mist. You pull the slipcover off and you're pulling the mist off and it reveals the characters inside the grocery store. But yeah, I understand if you don't like it though. I don't think the image is for everybody. It does look very cartoonish right there. What I don't like is how news store hours, how that new kind of wraps around the top. I just don't think that looks great. It doesn't look like it's cropped out right. So I would have wished that they would have, you know, kind of changed that. And I don't like I think Cabin in the Woods was kind of like this as well. I don't like the metallic, the metal look on the spine or inside of the spine as well. And you do have that first pressing. So there's some things about this I don't love. But you open it up. I'm not sure quite how I feel about the meat, the packed meat on the discs. I don't think that's the best choice of image you could have put on the disc. It's fine. I guess it's kind of fun. But you have the black and white fresh ground lamb, color fresh ground lamb on the 4Ks. And then on the Blu-rays, you have lamb chops, colored and black and white. See, I don't think it works. Like when you do the black and whites, it's why bother? Why did you even do that? But you take the disc out and then you reveal the characters from the inside of the store looking out. So I think that's a cool effect. But yeah, I collect Lionsgate Steelbooks. I try to collect every single one of them. And I don't think this is a bad Steelbook. I do have a couple of issues with it, but I think overall it looks good when you put that cover on it. I think it looks really good with the mist right there, and you can slightly see the characters behind it. So, and get into the special features, the last thing I'm going to talk about. There's nothing new. There's some audio commentaries here with Frank Darabont, some of the cast and crew. But there's nothing new here. It's all the same features that were present in this Blu-ray back in 2008. They did absolutely nothing new in terms of new commentaries, new interviews, which at this point in the game, guys, I just can't excuse. I just can't excuse that anymore. I think you need to add at least something new to your releases, whether you're a studio release, whether you're a boutique release. I don't care. Give me something new in terms of special features every single time. Because look, guys, we're physical media, I hate to say it, it's not dying, but it's definitely dwindling. And I think you need to add something to these releases to entice people that are all in on streaming to say, well, maybe I want to learn a little bit more about the Mist. Maybe I'll pick up the physical version because it has more interviews and commentaries and makings of, and you know, stuff that I can't get from streaming. I think we need to start including that in every single release of this movie, regardless of how much it costs. I mean, we're paying enough for this stuff, right? Like, who cares what the cost is? Do it. Give us a couple new special features for the money that we're spending. So look, guys, at the end of the day, do I recommend The Mist on 4K? I think that I actually do. Look, I like the movie okay. There's some people that do love this movie. I think if you're one of those people, this is definitely a must purchase. The movie's okay to me. The 4K looks substantially better than that Blu-ray. The 4K black and white looks incredible. The Atmos is amazing. Sound is amazing. There are no new features, but that's kind of par for the course with these releases. I'm not trying to excuse it. I don't want to excuse it, but that's just the way it is. And the packaging, look, I really like this Steelbook. Again, there is a slipcover version as well, and I'll try to link both down below in the description. So thank you all so much for watching this review. I know I went on probably too long, but this is who I am right now. I'm just very scattered-brained and not very focused, but I appreciate you guys watching the review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.